the end date of the financial year. So what section 4.2 LD prescribes is that the money collected from the allottees, out of the entire money, out of the 100% money, 70% of the money is to be deposited in a designated project bank account. Just one moment, please. And that money can be withdrawn in proportion to percentage of completion of the development work. And in order to withdraw that money, you need to obtain certificates from an engineer, an architect, and a chartered accountant. And further, under section 11, it is mandated that the quarterly updates in respect of the registered projects have to be complied with in terms of the and the details as per the rules have to be provided, in which also these certificates from the engineer, chartered accountant, and an architect have to be provided. For all this, the formats or the forms of the certificates have been published by the authority itself, and they are available on the website. So in accordance with that, these certificates have to be obtained. So this is basically the provisions of the law which mandate these certificates to be filed, and these are mandatory certificates, and this capture the details of the project in terms of the percentage of completion, the cost incurred, and the total percentage of work that has been completed. So it is necessary not only to comply with the requirement for withdrawal of funds, but also the quarterly updates, and so that the mandatory requirement under the Act is complied with, and also if this is done in a timely manner, it can, because at no point of time can anybody go back in time and obtain any certificate. So make sure that the promoter, whoever is the promoter, has to obtain the certificate and in time, and also has to comply with the requirements. So this is the base. This is regarding the provision of the law. Now we'll get into the practical aspects of it. Yes, Vinay.
Thank you, Suhail, for the information about the mandate of the law. Whatever Suhail has shared, I just put it on the screen now. This is a reference of the section for the purpose of withdrawal of the funds and also the certificate. If you read the entire Act, in the Act, it is in the Act, this is where the reference of the professional certificates are mentioned. It's a very small section, section 4.2 LD. I invite all the professions and also promoters to please read multiple times, understand, and also follow this very strictly. Non-following or non-compliance of section 4 attracts section 60. Okay, and in terms of non-compliance, cost is very high under RERA, which you are all aware of it. So let me read for the benefit of all the participants. I know that many of you might heard about it, but still one should understand from time to time, and also increase or better of their knowledge in terms of this section. The reason is entire RERA revolve under this section, and any non-compliance of this section would have a bigger impact to the promoter at any point of time, maybe at the time of registration, or during the development of the project, or on completion, or even after completion, which plays a very vital role in terms if the authority take the issue a notice suo moto or on complaint filed by any of the allottees in the project. So what does the section 4.2 LD of the Act talks about? So if you look on the screen, I have marked on red color and also underlined that 70% of the amount realized for the real estate project. So number one is it is 70% of the amount. So what is that 70%? From what is the source of the 70%? It is a realization. For what? For the purpose of this realization, for the purpose of the respective project. Realized from whom? allottees of the project, and it is of a time to time, shall be deposited in a separate bank account to be maintained for the purpose of a respective project, and it should be maintained in a scheduled bank to cover the cost of construction and the land cost, and shall be used only for that purpose. Let's understand one by one. 100 rupees collected from the customer or the allottees, of which only 70% should be referring, this section refer only 70% of that. And where it should be deposited this money? It should be deposited in a designated bank account which is opened for the purpose of RERA and which is part of your registration application. That is a bank account where the 70% money should be deposited. We come across the promoter deposits the money other than this the designated bank account. For whatever be the reason, maybe they might have forgotten, or maybe the earlier accountant is not in the organization now. They don't know which bank account they are given for the purpose of RERA registration. Or in case of a lender, where there is a lender to the project, where lender insisting this money should go to the escrow account of the loan, then the money may be deposited in that bank account. However, for the purpose of RERA, please note that irrespective of any mandate of any lender or any other statute, the 70% money should go to this project bank account, which is designated to a respective project, and the money should deposit into that 70%. Non-depositing of the 70% amounting to non-compliance of section 4.2 LD, again section 60 would be invoked. And where is this bank account? This bank account should be in a scheduled bank. What is a scheduled bank? Scheduled bank as per the RBI, where in the part 2 of the schedule of the RBI Act, they mention which are the scheduled bank. Please ensure the scheduled bank, one should open the account in a scheduled bank. We come across that many of the promoter open in a cooperative banks or a rural bank. I do not know how they open and how they file application, but as per the Act, it should be a scheduled bank. And please ensure it is open in a scheduled bank. And this money should be deposited for the purpose of the project only, and which covers the cost of the construction and land cost. In the subsequent slide, we will see what is the land cost, what is the construction cost. And this money should be used. How much money should be used? 70% of the money should be used for that purpose only. So what is that used only for that purpose also we will discuss in the subsequent slide. This is a simple slide, simple information about the section 4.2 LD. And further it says that the 70% should be used only for that purpose provided. So having deposited, what will happen? It should be withdraw from the project, right? So how do I withdraw this project? Withdrawal of this money should be proportionate to the percentage of completion of the project. This is a very, very important. Throughout the RERA, money is allowed to withdraw based on the percentage of proportional completion of the project. So if so, what is the proportional to the percentage of completion is always important. And how to arrive at this proportion to the percentage of completion? Is it something which is prescribed or notified by as way of accounting standard or tax standard or the engineering standard or the architect standard? Is there somewhere it is mentioned in the RERA Act whether this percentage of completion, how do I calculate, how do I arrive at? The answer to this is RERA Act doesn't give you the way to calculate the percentage of completion of the project. So you may have a question, sir, if RERA doesn't give, then do I have a choice to arrive at this percentage of completion in my own way or the way that I know it? The answer also may or may not be, because percentage of completion is generally defined by the architect or engineer, and they have their own standard to arrive at the percentage of completion. We have with us engineer Purnima. She explained what does mean a percentage of completion. How do I put the percentage of completion? How do I calculate the proportion to the percentage of completion in the subsequent slide? But you should remember what is that under the Act is permitted is money can be withdrawn from the project based on the percentage of completion of the project. Second proviso, one is first proviso you have seen provided it should be withdrawn from the percentage of completion. So when should I withdraw? How I should withdraw? So we have seen money will deposit into the project account, and that money can be withdrawn based on the percentage of completion, and that money can be withdrawn only after receipt and collection of the certificate from an engineer and architect and a chartered accountant who is in practice and eligible to issue a certificate under the respective institute, is permitted to issue the chartered respective certificate for the purpose of withdrawal. Again, they will issue a certificate based on the proportionate percentage of completion of the project. So this is a major, this is what is under section, we talks about it. And this is the entire section of 4.2 LD, Proviso 1, Proviso 2, Proviso 3. Proviso 3 talks about one more thing is, and annually there should be an audit under the RERA, audit of accounts of RERA. The timeline for this 6 months from the end of the financial year. That means September 30th is the due date for to collect the certificate under RERA. And what that auditor certify is, he certified the money withdrawn during the year is in proportionate to the percentage of completion of the project, and all the amount has been withdrawn in compliance. This is very important. See, compliance is something which is prescribed under RERA, and these formats are notified by the authorities. So we should read in this certificate should read in reference to the act and the rules. It cannot be read independently without referring to the act and the rules. Act and rules play a very important and which play a very vital role while reading these certificate formats. So also the certificate formats are clearly mentioned that other compliances under the act also to be complied with that. So a chartered accountant who is in a practice, who is eligible to issue a certificate and holding a certificate of practice will issue a certificate for the purpose of audit under RERA. So what we have seen is, one, we have seen the funds for the purpose of withdrawal and also audit certificate under RERA. Also, I have mentioned that who are all the professionals who are eligible and who are obligated to issue a certificate under RERA. 3 professionals: chartered accountant, architect, and an engineer. So these 3 professionals issue a certificate under RERA, and based on these 3 professionals, money can be withdrawn from the project bank account. So if so, why these 3 professions required, and what is these 3 professional what are the content of this certificate, and why these 3 professions required, and is the 3 professional certificate should tally, or the 3 professionals value should be tally, and how why should not act or the authority insisting all the 3 certificate? The answer is, it is an act. Act has been framed or formulated based on the objectives of the act. And all these 3 professionals part of this industry, and one cannot take out this professional from the industry itself. Hence, it thought act and also the various stakeholders felt these 3 professions required for the purpose of issue of certificate under RERA to withdraw the money from the project bank account. That's how these 3 professions have come. We know that it's a little practically it's a challenge to go before them and collect these certificates. The challenge number 1, these 3 professionals should understand what is RERA and why they're issuing a certificate, what document they should verify, and 4th, how do they capture this information, 5th, to whom they issuing this certificate. These are all the questions each professional should answer. And when they issue the certificate, who comes first, who comes second, who comes third? Should a CA issue first, or an engineer should issue first, or an architect should issue first? Actually, there is no reference under the act, there is no reference under the rules, or neither act nor rules prescribe who should issue what, and what should be the content of the certificate also, except to act mention that they will issue a certificate and allow the promoter to withdraw the money based on the proportionate percentage of completion. Apart from that, there is nothing, no reference in the act, no reference in the rules. However, refer to the notification circulars which are issued by the various state RERA authorities, example Karnataka RERA authority, by way of notifying these things in bank account directions 2020. They have notified all the formats by virtue of the notification in 2020. All the certificate formats are notified by the authority. Similarly, most of the state authorities have notified these certificates. Plus or minus all the state authorities notified the similar certificate except Karnataka. Karnataka has notified the certificate in a very vigilant manner and very technical manner, very scientific manner. And if you closely observe the certificate of any other state or the state of Karnataka, which has a more information, which is calculated on a very scientific manner, which has an inbuilt checks and balances, which has inbuilt calculation of reconciliation of the money collected and money withdrawn. So with that, we can appreciate the efforts of the Karnataka RERA authorities in terms of the information which brought into the RERA certificate, wherein as a professional, I'm satisfied, I'm convenient and comfort for issuing of these certificates. Otherwise, it's very difficult for a promoter also, for a professional also to issue a certificate without having much information which is provided as part of this certificate. So with this background, and I'll explain each of the certificate and also the content of the certificates. And as I mentioned that there is no state authorities, act or rules not define which certificate should come first, which profession should come first. There is a reference in the Tamil Nadu RERA regulation. In Tamil Nadu RERA regulation, they provided architect should issue a certificate where he physically mentioned the structure, physically arrive at what is the percentage of completion. Because architect only issue a certificate which physically measure how much is the percentage of completion. Engineer talks about what is the value of the construction which has gone into the project. He will look at only the value of the construction on-site value, and he arrive at the value of the certificate, value of the construction, value of the certificate, value of the construction which has gone into the project development. He value it and give it. Finally, a CA certificate will consider these two certificates, also mention the off-site cost. What engineering will give you only the on-site cost, and CA will give you off-site cost, administrative cost, taxes portion, borrowing cost, any other cost which is incurred for the purpose of the project. He will arrive at and give the absolute value based on what? Based on the books of accounts which is maintained by the promoter of the project. CA will always issue a certificate based on the books of accounts which is maintained by the promoter. However, architect and engineer always issue a certificate based on their site inspection. They will go to a site, they'll verify what is the physical development of the site and value it, measure it and value it. That's how they issue a certificate under RERA for the purpose of withdrawal of funds. But chartered accountant issue a certificate based on books of accounts maintained by the promoter of the project. So always the three different professionals issue a certificate having three different reasons which already I have explained. Architect issue a physical progress, engineer issue a physical development and value of the physical development. CA will issue a total cost incurred based on the books of accounts which is maintained by the promoter. And these three professionals issue a certificate. And a question to the participants, you can put it in a chat. Will these three professionals value or these three professional certificates should be the same or will be a different? If your answer is same, you mention same, or if the answer is different, you can mention as a different. So here to go. Participant, you can mention in chat, these three professional certificates would be the same or will there be a differences among these three professionals? I want participants to be active. Put it in a chat and let everybody knows that whether you are active or whether you are inactive, whether you are Yeah, I can see different. Prema, Dina different, Pradeep different. So is anybody is there to say that it's same? Different. Okay, fine. So one following the other. So I'll consider the majority of the answer which has come as a different. So yes, the answer, all of you are correct. All of you are correct. The answer for this is different. It should not be a same for the simple reason these three professionals place the way they calculate the information is in a different manner and different way. It cannot be the same. Thank you for your participation. As I mentioned, for CA certificate itself, there are various certificates under RERA. One which already explained withdrawal of funds, audit of accounts. Apart from that, for various compliances, the authorities ask for the certificate, which may be extension under 6 or transfer under section 15, modification under section 14, or bank account change, or anything which authority felt or thought it correct that there is a requirement of a CA certificate which value or which confirm that money has been collected and also withdrawn in proportionate to the percentage of completion, then authority may insist the CA certificate which serve and also which is intact with the RERA Act and the rules. On registration application, which I told you, Karnataka RERA has introduced a recent registration application. There is a chartered accountant certificate which shall go as part of the registration. I felt there is a meaningful information which is asked or meaningful information that is required by the authority itself to grant a registration, also to evaluate who are all the promoters and what is their background, what is their contribution, or any borrowings are there, and what is their source, what is the source of funds. So it's a very valid information which they are collecting. Of course, the information which should be based on the books of accounts or based on the declaration which may be collected by the promoter of the project. In the interest of everybody, I will start sharing that the screen relating to this application, this certificate format. Can you all see the format of certificate called registration 1? Say yes or no. You can put it in chat also. Say yes or no, please. Okay, thank you. And people are putting direct messages. You can put it all to everybody also. Yeah. So this is a certificate which is notified by the Karnataka RERA, and along with the application for grant of RERA registration, the certificate is required. Can you see there is a project name and the promoter name, and the name of the certificate is called Ridge 1, Form Registration 1. Mention the full name of the CA, and if it is a partner of any of the partnership firm, they mention it, and his membership which is issued by the ICAI, and also their office address, basically to know who is the CA who is issuing the certificate. Second para, I am undertaking to issue the CA certificate as mandated under section 4.2 LD of the Act. Read with the RERA rules to facilitate the promoter to withdraw the money from the RERA designated bank account based on the percentage of completion of the project. It's whatever we discussed that is there in this para. So this certificate is facilitating the promoter to withdraw the money. What does that mean? Based on this certificate, this becomes a primary certificate for the promoter to withdraw the money subsequently. If so, what is the certificate content? The certificate content contains estimated cost of the real estate project. You may have a question, sir, does chartered accountant is right to issue a certificate of estimate? And is that guideline Institute of Chartered Accountants of India allows chartered accountant to issue a certificate based on the estimates? The answer to that, strictly asked, it is not permitted. However, a CA can issue a certificate based on the relying on the other experts, that is a chartered architect and the engineer, who certifies the estimate of project, and based on that he can issue a certificate. However, while issuing a certificate, please ensure you mention proper assumptions that you made it while issuing the certificates. While issuing the certificate.
Sir, PPT is not displaying.
Not the PPT, Word is displaying. Word?
Yes.
Yeah, Word only I'm showing it now. Word document. Okay?
Sure.
Thank you, Shweta. Yeah. This is to certify that the details, this is a promoter name and their office address and what is the name as per the project, as per the application. That means to say that one should mention the promoter name and the project name and their registered office. Next is to disclose the ownership of the project. Who are the owners of this project and how much they are holding it. This is also one of the important aspects. In case of an individual, obviously it's 100%. In case of a partner, there would be a multiple partners. So those multiple partners, what is the share and what is their percentage, and also what is the capital contributed by them is also there mentioned, because authority wanted to know how much is the money which is introduced or capital which are contributed by the partner or the shareholders. In case of a company, we have to give the shareholders name. In case of a society, I'm sure that very difficult to give all the members members details. Maybe you can mention this as part of annexure to this, and if it is or any other way to mention that 1,000 members which contributed 1,000 rupees equal, maybe you can put about 10 lakh rupees. Okay, and in case of a society, that's what you can mention. In case of a AOP, you can mention the details of the same. And also, what is the total contribution? This is in case of a partner, in case of a company, in case of a society. Additional details of the promoter in terms of their KYC. Basically, this is to certify the KYC of that promoter. In case of a partnership, registration number, date of birth in terms as per their PAN card or any other registered document. In case of a designated partner, see what happened in case of a designated partner. In case of a LLP, there may be a designated partner and there may be a partners, overall partners. In the upper table, in the first table, what we have seen is who will be the shareholders that we have captured, who are all the partners holding the shares that we have captured. However, this is in this column, it's only talking about who are the designated partners, maybe 2 designated partners, only their name should be mentioned. And then in case of a company, the director list. Please ensure that all the director details should be mentioned as per the Ministry of Company Affairs, ROC, as on date of issue of the certificate. Then finally, total value of the assets as per the balance sheet. Mean to say that we should have a balance sheet for issuance of this CA certificate.
Sir, PPT is not displaying, sir. Please check.
I'm not displaying, Shweta, I'm not displaying the PPT. I'm displaying only the Word document at this point of time.
Sir, Word document is also not displaying.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Is it displaying now?
Yes, sir. Now it is displaying.
Okay. Was it displayed earlier or no?
No, sir. It was not displayed for few minutes, but now it is getting displayed.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So for the interest of everybody, I'll show you. This is the format of registration 1. Okay, and the table talks about who are all the ownership details. Second is how much they're holding, and third is what is the capital contributed by them. And next table talks about the KYC details of those promoter. In case of a partnership, list of partners, designated partners, companies list of directors, total value of the assets as per the balance sheet that should be disclosed, and also net worth of the promoter as per the latest balance sheet disclosed. And we come across that in case of a larger business houses where they have multiple projects, then the promoter who is holding this project, that balance sheet has to be detailed. The balance of that balance sheet should be given. We have come across that recently. The project cost is about 20 crore rupees. However, if you see the balance sheet of that project, that company, the promoter is about 2000 crores, because they have multiple projects in multiple states and also multiple businesses. Basically, they are into FMCG. They come out with only this small project of 20 units. And however, that land was in the parent company, which is about 60 years old, and they were handling various other businesses. And inevitably, I have to mention, because that the company is the promoter of this project, and we end up with mentioning for 20 crore rupees, total value is 2000 crores. Net worth is about 1200 crore rupees. So this also would be one thing which we should undertake to issue the certificate. And also, what is the type of the project and where is the address of this? And point number 5, if you see that this is a designated bank of the project. And friends, you all know that every RERA project, project will have a separate designated bank account as per section 4.2 LD. One should mention that project detail, that bank account details here. Please ensure that you collect the correct details from the promoter before you mention it, because this is the details which should match with the RERA website also. Mean to say that we can issue the certificate only after the promoter open the bank account for the purpose of project. Next is point number 6. This is very, very important, and one should understand this impact of it, because as a chartered accountant, I'm issuing a certificate which is certifying the estimated cost of what? Land of the project. Second, estimated cost of the various approvals, NOCs, and development cost. It's only an estimated cost. I should rely on some of the document which is to be provided by the promoter, because I am not the expert to arrive at what is the estimate for obtaining the NOC of the water, obtaining the NOC of various approvals. So I'm not the expert of it. However, I should take the some information, some undertaking from the promoter before I issue the certificate. One is the land of the project. As a chartered accountant, I can certify based on the books of accounts. And as per the books of accounts, it may be a historical value of the land. However, in case of the RERA, for the purpose of RERA, for the Rule 5, it mandates whether it's the acquisition cost or the ASR. That means the guidance value, whichever is higher, I should take it for the purpose of RERA. So that means to say I should collect the details relating to the guidance value or the acquisition for me to mention this as part of the certificate. Construction cost, I will not explain much because first point, estimate cost of the construction as certified by the engineer. Purnima is here, she will explain about that. And remaining is based on the projections which are given, which may be a interest cost, taxes, administration cost. So all put together, we arrive at the total estimated cost of the project. And this should be certified by a chartered accountant. Friends, please mention what are the assumptions you made while preparing this document. And also one should have a backup, one should have a supporting document to check and also rely on subsequently for any other reasons for the purpose of issuance of this certificate. Finally, in case of a borrowing, because authority wanted to know how are you raising, how are you arranging the fund, because say 2000 crores is the project cost. And if you see in the balance sheet, it's a new company. In the new company, you have only 10 crores. It's the 2000 crores is the project cost. How do you source the money? What is the source of money for the project? And friends, in few of the states, if you go to Andhra Pradesh, if you go to Maharashtra, if you go to Gujarat, there is a means of finance. That means to say, how are you financing this project? What is the source of the project? They have a detailed analysis and detailed project report should be given under various heads as part of the application. The reason is a promoter should know before he launch a project about the source of funds, whether it's completely relying on the customer money or he is bringing or is borrowing, the same information should be available with the regulator. That means RERA authorities, because RERA authority is a regulator of this industry. They also should know that whom they're issuing the registration certificate and what is their strength in terms of the financial aspect and what is the source for the fund for the development of this project. So in case of the borrowing, one should disclose the project borrowing. Finally, the promoter of the project is in compliance with section 3.1. Friends, what is section 3.1 talks about? Anybody? You can put it in the chat. What is 3.1? What is section 3.1? Section 3.1, friends, you can type it. Section 3.1. Section 3.1 of the RERA Act, wherein promoter is barred in terms of collection of money, in terms of advertisement, in terms of marketing, in terms of collection of any advance from the prospective customers in the project without obtaining the RERA registration. That means to say it's a very, very important, because I'm a chartered accountant, I'm issuing a certificate considering that section 3.1 is complied. How do I ensure section 3.1 is complied? The simple way, you can ask the promoter, sir, advertisement madidira, have you collected any money? Have you done any of the marketing activities? You can ask them, but the answer may be yes or no. But however, I should have a backup. As a chartered accountant, I should have done some homework. I should have some due diligence to ensure section 3.1 is complied. What you can do, you can go on Google it. Say the example, that project name is XYZ Park or Lakeview, XYZ Lakeview. Go and check in the website RERA, in the Google, saying that XYZ Lakeview is that marketed or advertised. Go to the promoter website itself. Company name is XYZ. Go to the XYZ website. Whether see there is an upcoming project, whether there is an ongoing project, any new project, whether they themselves has been advertised or marketed. Maybe look at the books of accounts of the promoter, because we issue certificate also based on the books of account, whether any money has been collected by them by way of advance for the project. So look at the books of accounts. Finally, you can ask the promoter or ask the accountant whether any money collected, and ultimately you can collect one undertaking letter or a management representation letter that we have not collected any money for the purpose of the project. So this is about the this is about the certificate which is recently notified by RERA, and it is a mandated document which should be issued at the time of RERA registration. Friends, please consider this document is very important. This document is a basis for the entire project to withdraw the money from the project bank account. The information which goes into this account should be very scientific and very accurate. Also, please see some of the notes they have given. Fill all the details in the certificate. Mention not applicable. Do not leave blank. The details of CA mentioned on the website shall be the same CA who undertake to issue the certificate. Friends, in the website, the chartered accountant details are given. The same CA should mention here. And also, please ensure that the same CA will also issue a certificate for withdrawal of the money from the quarter to quarter. And if there is any of the changes to that chartered accountant, and promoter should collect the no objection. Maybe at this point of time they have not mentioned to go back and inform to the authority, because I remember in few of the authority, example Kerala has very clearly mentioned that without the prior approval of the authority, profession should not be changed by the promoter. Okay, and finally, this certificate shall be issued in accordance with the ICAI standards. This is about the CA certificate, which I was mentioning about the certificate mandatory under the Act, under the Act as part of registration of application, and this is a basis and which is mandated at the part of the registration. Maybe if you have applied any registration, you might have received the note or maybe the query from the RERA authority stating please upload as per the new format, or they may also mention that values mentioned in the CA certificate is not matching with the engineer certificate, or maybe the values mentioned in the certificate is not mentioned, not correct as per the website. So you might have received various queries from this. So friends, please ensure that these informations are filled up properly and obtain the certificate along with the at the time of registration itself. So with this, I'm handing over the presentation to Purnima. Purnima will explain the percentage of completion and also estimated. If you see in my presentation, I've explained the estimated cost of the project and who will prepare this, how it will be prepared, and what do you mean by a percentage of completion. I will give it to Purnima to explain the percentage of completion. Purnima, welcome. And you want me to put the Excel on the screen, or you yourself can put it, Purnima? Purnima, you want me to put?
Sir, I'll share it, sir.
Okay, ma, fine then. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Very good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, thank you, Shweta, for the good introduction. So as Vinay sir already explained what exactly, like how important the certificates under RERA are. So today I'll be explaining about what exactly the estimation cost, how to prepare the estimation cost, how to certify this issue or certify this Form 4 or Form 5 and 6, that is engineering and architect certificate. So first of all, I'll just share the screen. Sir, is my screen visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So first of all, to prepare the estimation cost of a particular project, whoever the person, whoever is responsible for issuing the certificate, it might be an engineer or architect. First, they have to see or go through the sanction plans, which is approved by the respected planning authority. So you have to check what exactly the plan is, what is the scheme of the project, if it is an apartment project, if it is a plotted development project. You have to see the sanction plan first. It is a first step for issuing the certificate. Then you have to go through the specification. Specification is something where it's a scope of a work, where you give the scope of a work, what exactly the materials you use in a particular project, what are the installation method you'll be adopting in a particular project. So first I said sanction plan is very important, and then you have to go for the specification. What are the amenities present in a particular project? What are the facilities you are giving? What are the internal development works you are doing? What are the external development works you are doing? Based on that, you will be preparing the estimation cost. So estimation cost should be prepared for a particular project based on these three things. So if you can see my screen is showing, I have prepared an estimation cost, and this is a BOQ where I have just extracted the quantity of a particular project from the estimation. So BOQ is BOQ in simple term, we can call it as bill of quantities, where we'll be preparing this to quantify the material, what exactly the materials is used for a particular project. So this BOQ I have extracted the estimation. I have prepared the detailed estimation for a particular based on the plan. I have prepared the estimation. From the estimation, I have abstracted the BOQ. So for example, you can see what is the earthwork excavation. So from the estimation, we got the quantity as 7,650 cubic feet. So the earthwork excavation will be calculated with the cubic feet. So there are different quantities where we'll be measuring. So earthwork excavation will be in cubic feet, your walls all will be in square feet. That's how we calculate. So earthwork excavation, from the estimation we have received 7,650 cubic feet. So as per the SR value, that is schedule rates. So whenever you fix an amount, whenever you say for an earthwork excavation, this is the amount, you have to keep in mind, because in today's, as you all know, the steel rate has been increased drastically. It has been increased. The cement rate has been increased. So before taking into consideration the rate of particular material, you have to keep in mind to it should be well enough to maintain if the price are varying high or low. So for example, the earthwork excavation, we have a quantity of 7,650 cubic feet. So as per the SR rate, that is scheduled rates, I have just entered it as 10 rupees. So when you multiply quantity with the unit rate, you will be arriving at 76,500 rupees. So as such, I have been calculated for the entire work of the project, where you'll be getting your earthwork, your foundation work, your plinth level, your RCC, your PCC, your slab works, your brick works, or lintels, chajjas, whatever it is there, with a brief introduction, with a brief whatever the materials will be using. On that basis, we'll be calculating the BOQ of a particular project. So this is how the estimated cost of a particular project is prepared. So as sir has already said, we'll be having two certificates for engineer. There is a two certificate for the registration and for the registration and quarterly updates, and for the architect also two certificates. The first certificate, that is form 2 or 3, which is issued by engineer or architect. It's just say what is the total cost of a particular project. For a particular project, what is the total cost? There is a difference of CA and engineer and architect. Engineer and architect would be issuing the certificate which is purely based on construction cost. So I can just show you one example for form 6, that is form 2. I'll be sharing you form 2. So this is a form 2 certificate. So we will not mention the RERA number here. It's because before it was like post registration was a different aspect. Once the registration is done, then only we used to do the post registration. But due to the newly adopted registration, we will be merging your post registration is been merged with registration and post registration are together. So this is the form 2 certificate which is issued by the architect. So you have to clearly mention your project name, what exactly the project name is, and the promoter name. Promoter name who is be developing the project. The promoter name should be mentioned clearly to what is the address of the address, and what is the promoter name should be written here, and what is the construction of work. If it is what exactly the construction of work is, a plotted development, apartment, or it is a commercial, should be clearly mentioned. What is the survey number of a particular project, how many accommodation is there, how many number of units are there, you have to clearly mention here. So as I said, even you have to mention your sanction drawing number, which is very important before issuing the certificate or before going through the drawing. First of all, we have to please cross check the what is the sanction drawing number, when did the when did the sanction plan issued, and what is the deadline for it. So we have to mention the sanction drawing number, and as I said, the form 2 or form 3, which is clearly states that when did you inspect the site. So we all know, engineer or architect, we have only a document of proof is photographs. So we have to visit the site, only that proof will be having. We don't have any bills or nothing will be having. We have to visit the site. We have to check the site according to the plan. Is it constructed according to the plan, or how is it? We have to verify it, which is very, very, very mandatory thing. So as I said, form 2 and 3 will be just an exact thing where you'll be issuing the certificate based on your estimated cost. So you have, before issuing the certificate, you have to visit the site, which is mandatory thing. As I already said, you have to visit the site, and according to the estimated cost, how much the particular project estimate is, you have to enter here and issue the certificate. This is how the form 2 and 3 is. The same thing is form 2 also. The engineer and architect says what is a particular cost of a project construction. So as I said, the estimation should be prepared according to the plan sanction. So let us see what is the incurred cost. Incurred cost for a particular project. So the incurred cost will be very useful for form 5 and 6, where you'll be issuing the certificate based on the quarterly basis. So as I already said, once we prepare the estimation, we'll be getting the quantity of a particular project. Quantity is how many areas are there for construction. So that will be exactly what exactly it is. So according to it, I have divided it into major heads, where we get the substructure below the ground level, your superstructure above the ground level, your flooring works, your plastering works, windows, waterproofing, RCC, mild steel, electrical works, water supply and sanitary common uses. So when we come to the substructure, so when we start, whoever it is, when they start the particular project, the first work will be cleaning of a particular site location. So the substructure also includes your cleaning of site location, excavation. When excavation come into picture, your PCC might be a PCC, or if you have minus levels, that is your basement floor, basement like under the earth, whichever comes in the substructure. So the excavation, which is mandatory thing, that excavation, what exactly the quantity is, that should also be written, and the rate. However, I have said in the BOQ, the same thing will be repeated here. So estimated amount also I have written. So how I'll be, this is example of how I'll be issuing the certificate. So incurred column, for an example, the project has started in the month of January. If you think the project has started in January, and according to RERA, we'll be issuing the certificate in the quarterly basis. So our work has started in January, and we have to issue the certificate on March. So when we issue the certificate on the March, in the span of 3 months, what exactly the work is done. So if it is a small project, when we consider it as a small project which has a G+3, in the span of 3 months, they'll be finishing the footings already. But when we consider if it is a high-rise building, at least the excavation portion only will take 2 to 3 months. So in that cases, we have to mention, for an example, the excavation. When we take a small project, the excavation is already completed for a particular project. We need to mention it as 100%, which will be, which in sense says that the 100% amount is also incurred. Okay, so if let us consider the substructure work is already completed, so all this from the quantity, whatever the estimated cost from this substructure it is there, it has been completely incurred, that's fine. Then when it comes to the substructure, so when it comes to the substructure, you have to raise your pillar, raise your column, you have to construct your masonry, your slab structure, everything will be come into picture. So when you say I have a G+3 floors, and I have constructed the just G+1 I have constructed, so you have to issue the certificate only for one slab, that is G+1. If you have constructed only for that particular slab, you have to divide the percentage as if you have a G+3, you have to divide the percentage to the entire 3 floors. So for example, if you have G+3 and you have completed G+1, you have to issue certificate only for G+1. You can ask me a question, ma'am, we have to Purnima, we have 2 towers. So when we have 2 towers, we can't issue certificate if we started constructing only a particular tower. In those cases, what we can do is we have to split the certificates into 2. I'll just share one form 6 so that I can explain. So this is a form 6 which will be issuing on a quarterly basis. So as I said, I'll be these things which will be same as form 2 or 3. So we have to mention clearly who is the architect for a particular project, who will be the structural consultant, who will be the MEP consultant, who is the quantity surveyor. All the three things which is very mandatory. And in case of plotted development, we can't say structural engineer should be there, because there is no construction of a plotted development, is just a development of the plots, and there is no construction of any buildings. So in that case, you can just mention not applicable. Okay, then we have to here we have to mention what is the total percentage of what is the total cost of construction. So as I said, if you have a 2 tower, what we can do it. So here you can see you have a table called table A. Okay, table A. Here in these cases, you can if your total project cost is around 60 crores, you can just divide 30 crores to tower A and 30 crores to tower B, based if case the units are same, even the superstructure also is same. In that case, you can just divide tower A and tower B the same amount. If not, you can just prepare an estimate for a particular tower and a separate estimate for two different towers. That is how we can split. So as I said, you can just mention the tower 1 or bearing number or called, or you can just mention here as tower A. We can mention it as tower A, and this will be exactly this, whatever we have given the estimated cost will be only for a particular tower. So the same thing you can just copy paste and paste here where you can say the tower B. So you can't issue, you can't say my even the architect certificate holds the same. You can't say if your project is already G+3, if the tower is G+3 and your tower B is not yet started, you can't say my project is already 70%. That is wrong. You should, when we are issuing the certificate, we have to be issuing the certificate based on the entire project. Here also it might be a two cases where we'll be registering tower A first to the RERA. In that cases, you can just give only for you can just give a estimate, like you can just give a certificate only for a tower A. But if you have registered into the RERA both the towers at a one shot, saying it is a single project, you are not dividing it as phase 1, phase 2, you are just giving it as single project. In that cases, this is mandatory. You can't say my project, if the tower A is completed and tower B is not started, you can't say my project is already 50-100%. That is wrong. So you have to be very careful when you are issuing the form 5 and 6, because the estimated cost holds very, very, very important. So this is about the form 4 certificate. Form 6 certificate, that is engineering certificate. This table A says it's a cost incurred based on the estimated cost. If there is any, based on the estimated cost, whatever the cost incurred for a particular period of 3 months, that is from, if I already said, from January to March. So here also will be not putting, you will not be entering for a particular quarter. Once if we finish March and when we jump to the June quarter, we'll be entering the amount in a cumulative way. It's not a particular quarter. We'll be entering it as a cumulative way. So that is how the percentage of work will be calculating. So I'll be telling you how the time schedule will be there. Time schedule, now they have introduced for a registration also. It says what exactly your project start, what time the project start and what time the project ends. So for example, your project starts at 2021 of January, and ends at 2024 of January. Your schedules, your estimated start date and end date should start with 21 of January and should end with 24 of Jan. You can't say my project starts at 21 and you can't put your estimated at 20, ends at 22. The entire work should complete within 24. And the point, this is just an estimate. This is not the actual. So whenever in the new registration process, we'll be giving the estimated start date and estimated end date. That is how we will be entering in the registration process. The actual start date will be when you do your quarterly updates. At that moment, you can say if your project has started, you can just enter what exactly the project started, at what date exactly the project started, and that at the time of quarterly update, you can just mention. But in the registration process, you have to mention the estimated start and end date. So here I have said my substructure. For an example, I have said the substructure has started in the month of 1/1/21, that is January 2020. So its estimated end date is 21/01/2022. So here also the earthwork excavation has already said the smaller project takes a less time and a bigger project takes more time. So based on the scheme of the project, what exactly the scheme of the project is, based on that only we have to put the start date and estimated end date. So this is about the time schedules. Do you have any doubt about the estimation, incurred cost and time schedules? Okay, by this I can just conclude. I have some opinion towards an engineer or architect, whoever it is. So before issuing any certificate, you have to see what is exactly the scheme of the project is. If the scheme of the project is plotted development, apartment, as the beginning of the project itself, I've said what exactly the project scheme is, you have to go through it before issuing the certificate. So you have to understand what is the sanction drawing is. You have to prepare the BOP of the, which is very important. You have to prepare the BOP of a particular project, and you have to keep as a reference, because we engineers and architect, that the whatever the execution has done in the site, that thing will be our reference thing. So before issuing the certificate, please don't be casual in issuing the certificate. Go to the site, see whatever the work has done in the site, executed in the site, just check, is it according to the plan sanction. Go take a photograph, keep as a referral. So this will be very important in your future aspect as well. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay.
Thank you, Purnima. Thank you for explaining the concept of engineering certificate and also the architect certificate under RERA. Also, we have explained in terms of how do we prepare this estimated cost of the project in related to the construction cost, which is very, very important under RERA, and based on that only promoter is permitted to withdraw the money. And as we mentioned earlier, in terms of the estimated cost, we were discussing about the estimated cost of the project. Here is the estimated cost, and which has a direct impact on the withdrawal, ability to withdraw the money from the project account. Also, which has the direct impact in terms of the completion, in terms of financing, in terms of data interchange between the income tax and GST or the statutory department. And one thing is, in terms of architect and engineer certificate, both the professional issue the certificate based on their physical inspection, based on their physical visit to the site, project site. That's very, very important. If you see the certificate, they have mentioned that I have physically verified the construction progress and certifying this certificate for the purpose of RERA. And in terms of few states, like I remember Uttar Pradesh, they made it as the they issue the certificate by clicking the their Google coordinates, and while they visit the site, they have to use the app, which is application which is developed by the authority. The architect and the engineer who visit the site, they have to open it, and also they click on and capture the Google coordinates, which will work like a capturing of the data on the inspection, and also apart from, of course, the photographs and everything. So this is very important in terms of the architect and engineer certificates. And which you also mentioned, then what is the percentage of completion, which already she explained. We have to arrive at based on the architect certificate, and who certify the percentage of completion. Always certificate of percentage of completion is always based on the architect certificate, and architect certificate play a very important role in terms of the percentage of completion arriving. So in the CA certificate also, if you see that what is the percentage of completion as per the architect, and lower of the architect certificate or the money incurred as per the books of account is permitted to withdraw. Please note, in the state of Karnataka, lower of the percentage of completion as per the architect or the money we incurred as per the books of account is permitted to withdraw, unless in other states with this it is permitted to withdraw what will be the actual incurred. Friends, which also have mentioned in terms of the matching and reconciliation of the certificates which are issued by the chartered accountant with the books of accounts, income tax, GST, legal, inventory data. If it is given to a banker for the purpose of loan, what is the sold, unsold information, inventory should match. The reason is a chartered accountant is issuing the certificate based on the books of accounts. The certificate should be issued on every quarterly basis, and the information is very dynamic, which is openly available in the public website and RERA website. Any of these authorities can pull the data and cross-check the information which you have filed for the other statute for other reasons. And what are all available with the project is, these are all the information which is available at all point of time with RERA, and which is the correct figure. It cannot be a, something which is have given erroneously. Maybe estimate, we can give estimate, but actual cannot be the different, because actuals are certified by a chartered accountant and based on the books of accounts. That would be a base for the other department, other statutory agencies also hold the promoter responsible for that. As I told you, these are the certificates which are quarterly updates. Sorry, it's a March 22 quarterly updates. These are all the information which are always available with the authorities. These are all the percentage based on that one can arrive at. Okay, so incurred cost, example, for the purpose of income tax, you may say that in cost incurred is 25 crores. If you go back and see in the RERA, it takes only 10 crore rupees. So one should reconcile. See, I'm not telling there is no differences. There will be a difference, but I should have a reconciliation. As a promoter, as a professional, I should have a reconciliation. As per GST, it is 30 crores is totally I've reported. And as per the money collected from the allottees, maybe 45 crore rupees, I should ensure that how this 45 crore rupees reported only 30 crore rupees. I should have a reconciliation mechanism at all point of time. So that's all about the various certificate. Friends, in summarize of the today's topic of various certificates under RERA: architect, engineer, and a chartered accountant. For a CA, what are the types of certificate? One is quarterly withdrawal and annual audit, and also registration certificate, that is a one format one, and also various other certificate also notified. However, in the interest of time, we are restricted the very important aspects of certificate under RERA. And also engineer Purnima has explained in terms of the what is the chartered accountant, what is the engineer certificate, and what is the architect certificate, how to calculate the proportionate completion of the project, and how to withdraw the money from the project designated bank account. So this is the overall presentation of the today's session, and we are at 5:15. Another 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we can take the questions from the participants. It may be a specific question to your project, or it may be something which is related to the knowledge on RERA. We are open to explain, open to share our experience and knowledge on this. Open to participants. You can put your videos on also, so that we can see your faces also. We can also allow to see all the participants' faces. You can put on your videos also. Any specific questions, please, you can post it through the chat also. You can ask the questions also.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, myself Deepak Yaduka from Calcutta.
Yeah, tell me,
actually, I was going what Purnima ji had explained this architect certificate and engineer certificate very nicely. But I got confused like she saw the BOQ. The BOQ will be made by the engineers.
Yes, sir.
And that is to be made at the start of the project.
Yeah.
And I think based on that BOQ, we will get the cost of construction data.
Yes, sir. True.
Then this quarterly also Purnima ji explained that quarterly we get how to get engineer certificate.
Yeah.
But what is the architect certificate for quarterly basis?
See, quarterly, sir, Deepak ji, thank you for joining from Kolkata. Surprised that you joined from Kolkata. Kolkata still not implemented RERA. What you had, West Bengal HERA is repealed and taken out, and West Bengal is still to see the RERA lights of RERA. I appreciate your interest in terms of joining from Kolkata and being here. Okay, it's good to see you here, sir. Sir, I'll just explain. See, architect certificate is basically they certify the physical measurement of the development of the project. Architect always issue a certificate based on the physical progress of the project, and engineer will value what is the what is the cost which is involved in terms of the development of the project. Both are different. One is architect always talks about physical percentage. He will not value in terms of the money, but in terms of the engineer, he will value the money which has gone into the project in terms of the development. What Purnimaji has shown you in terms of, there are two screens she has shown. One screen she has shown is about the value which has gone into the project. Another screen she has shown at the end, the start date, end date, and percentage of completion. That is where the architect play a role, where architect calculate whether the foundation is completed, he will put 100%. Is a wall completed, he will put 100%. The percentage of the physical progress would be certified by an architect, sir. That is the difference.
Okay, the start date ended was architect certificate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I
Most
regularly
welcome,
attend
sir.
your program actually.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
You're part of which company, sir?
We have a CA firm in the name of Yaduka and Company in Calcutta.
Okay, okay. Nice, sir. Nice, nice to see
We
you.
look after many real estate firms.
Oh, very nice, sir. Very nice.
So
Very great to hear,
your
sir.
topics are very valuable. We look at from, you provide a lot of value to us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. You being here in this evening. One more question which has come. This is from Raju. He asking a question. Sir, in Telangana, most of the professionals are hesitate to mention the cost of the land because rules are not mention the cost of the land. But as per the act, estimated cost is mandatory. Yes, sir. Mr. Raju, correct. What you are mentioned is perfect. Most of the states have defined what is the cost of the land, how to arrive at the cost of the land, and what is the cost of the construction. Unfortunately, Telangana has missed out. Telangana rules has missed out. Maybe authority should come out with a notification or a circular like Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh has given a very good clarification on how to arrive at the cost and how cost of the land. In the similar way, Telangana should also give it. Sir, I can mention that without cost of the land, there cannot be a project. Without cost of the land, there should not be a chartered accountant certificate. You can assume it based on the best practices, and you can issue a certificate still stating that value of the land is based on the either the joint development agreement, there is a value to it, or a guidance value which you can obtain from any sub-registrar office, and you can mention it, sir. Without mentioning that, there is an impact, straight away direct impact on your withdrawal of the project, sir. That is the answer, Mr. Raju. Dina has mentioned what is the impact if actual cost incurred increase or more than the estimated cost. What is the impact? There is no impact. Actually, obviously, that is the reason. If you see the steel prices when you started a project 2 years ago, it is 40,000. Now the steel price is 1 lakh rupees. Obviously, there is an increase in the cost. There is no way that you can suppress the cost. So if the cost is more than the estimate, you still mention as part of your CA certificate, estimated cost is more than the, incurred cost is more than the estimated cost. It may go to 1 or 2%, 1 or 5%. There is no other way other than to mention. However, engineer certificate clearly mentioned that if any cost incurred in addition to the above, he will certify in his footnote stating that additional cost incurred and this is the reason. So do not hesitate to mention more than estimate cost. You mention it because it's a fact. Because as a chartered accountant, I'm issuing certificate based on the books of accounts, and which is the fact. However, I come across few of the professionals try to change the estimated cost itself in the chartered accountant certificate. Please do not do that unless there is a approval from the RERA authorities, because I'm issuing my estimated cost based on some assumption I made it at the time of registration of the project. If that estimate to change, you have to go to the RERA authorities and approval shall be taken for that estimated cost of estimate changes. Based on that, you can issue it. Prema has sent, hi sir, in our recent registration application for project, we had mentioned land value which is higher as per RERA rules, whereas RERA rules suggested us to mention actual cost which was less. Prema, you have to support with the document. I do not know what is the background of it. Karnataka RERA insisting to provide the guidance value from a sub-registrar. If that value you are giving it, it is correct. If you are giving anything other than that, it is not correct. Refer to the rule 5. Estimated cost of the land for the purpose of section 4.2 LD is either the acquisition cost or the cost as on the guidance value as on the application for registration. Whichever is higher, you should take it. So that is what is the rule talks about. I'm sure that in most of the cases which we represent, RERA is asking in this way, but in your case, we should see that. Second, Prema, you should also understand how are you arriving at the land cost. How are you arriving at the land cost is important. See, land cost is different than a plot cost, because we also come across various promoter go and get the cost of the plot. That is not the cost for the purpose of RERA. For the purpose of RERA, land cost is important. Project land cost is important. Project land cost is like without development. Say I have a 1 acre of land, which is about 4,000 odd square meter. So I should take 1 acre of land as 1 crore rupees for the purpose of RERA. It is not that 1,000 rupees per square feet of the land. That is the plot cost. So in the RERA application, what should be mentioned is the project land cost, not the plot cost. Maybe your answer, if you have taken and mentioned the cost of the plot, then you have to go back and visit, stating that it should be like a cost of the land, not as a plot, based on the plot cost. Mr. Rakesh is asking, will there be a land cost in case of a JDA? Mr. Rakesh, the answer is yes. The reason is what you are registering is a project, not a promoter. Suhail, if you are there, can you explain the concept of a project registration rather than a promoter registration if you are here? Yeah. We'll take 1 minute or 2 minutes to explain what is that we are registering under RERA.
So the Real Estate Regulation and Development Act requires that each real estate project to be registered under the Act. So what is a real estate project? So a real estate project that is mandated to be registered under the Act is a project which is either developed on a land measuring more than 500 square meters, that is 5382 square feet, or a project which has more than 8 units, that is if it has, let's say, 9 apartments, then that project has to be registered. It is either, if it fits either one of these, that is if the land is more than 5382 square feet or it has 9 apartments, then that project becomes mandatorily registerable. Now, the next criteria is that there should be an intention to sell either the entire project or part of the project. Let's say that you are constructing, somebody is constructing 10 apartments in a project and want to sell only 2 and retain the remaining between the family members, then even that project needs to be registered. So any project which meets these criteria where the intention is to sell, that project has to be registered. So a promoter having 10 projects has to register all the 10 projects under RERA. So it is not the promoter which has to be registered. So it is the entire project for the purpose of registration for the authority, whether it's a joint development or whether it is an outright purchase, whether it's a leasehold or a perpetual leasehold, whatever, it doesn't matter. For the purpose of RERA, it is a project that the authority will look at, because the consequences in case of revocation, there are a lot of other consequences in case of revocation. That's why the authority looks at it as a project. The arrangement between the landowner and the promoter is irrespective. The authority is not concerned with that. Yes. Yes, Vinay.
Thank you, Suhail. Mr. Rakesh, answer is yes, one should mention the land cost as well as the development cost for the purpose of RERA application. There is no excuse to it. Initially, I know that various projects have been registered with 1 rupee or 0 because stating it's a JDA. But now all the authorities have taken a conscious decision that there is a land cost to it and it should be registered for the purpose. It should be mentioned as for the purpose of registration. So we are at 5:30. If you have any questions, you can ask us, or you can write to us on the same mail ID which you are registered, or you can reach us for any of the clarification or the services you are looking at. and I thanks RERA consultants and also especially Shweta. She hosts the host our make us to talk month on month on the RERA, which we love most. So with that, I'm concluding my part of it. Thank you so much, Shweta and RERA consultants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
hello?
Yes, sir.
2 minutes.
Yes.
I think participants has.
Can promoter change the estimated cost in the F2 engineering certificate? If the what do you say just now? So how can you justify the additional cost?
Only engineer can mention. If you read the certificate, there is annexure B. In the annexure B, additional costs which are incurred in addition to the above cost, that he has to mention by way of annexure.
Annexure A.
Yes.
But you should not change the total estimated cost and declared at the time of registration.
No.
Huh?
No.
Okay. Fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Shweta?
Okay, so thank you, Vinay sir. Thank you, Suhail sir, and special thanks to Ms. Purnima for like contributing your valuable time and your expert opinion, particularly on various certificates under RERA. So I hope this session was very interactive and our participants, like, they have gained enough knowledge on certificates under RERA and its practical challenges. So friends, that's all for today's session, and we will share the details of our next month's session with you very soon. As of now, thank you all and have a great evening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.